Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Globe Law and Business. It's a 2-volume work on trusts in prime jurisdictions. It's now a 5th edition. It's a first-class book and obviously very much up to the high standards which Globe Law have set themselves in their publications, because they're going for niche markets here. The general editor of the work is Alon Kaplan, and the advisory editor is Barbara R. Hauser. Elizabeth was the lead writer on this review, and the title we've given the review is Essential Reading for Trust Practitioners and all professionals concerned with this area of law. It's an important area of law. It says prime jurisdictions as well, so it's obviously covering a wide range of things. Let's look at the books first of all. This is the first volume there. You can see there's the front, the spine, and then some blurb on the back. Just opening it up, you've got the front of the book there, and then you've got some blurb there, and then the table of contents running off of volume 1, and then you've also got the table of contents for volume 2 as well, which is very useful. Then there's an important foreword right at the beginning, and that's written by Mark Wally, and this book of course is published in association with STEP, which is advising families across generations. And then you've got the preface here from Jeffrey Schindler, and then after that you've got a bit of information about STEP, who are the co-publishers. It's a global professional association for practitioners. Obviously you can read more about that, and then you've got the introduction from the editors, and then you've got the basic work running all the way through. There is in fact no content section at the back. It's a blurb about Globe Law at the back as well, but they don't normally have, then other publications there, but they don't normally have an index. So that's the basis of the book. You can see there is paragraph numbering. That's volume 1. Volume 2 continues in the same vein. You've got the blurb again. There's the front. Just make sure we open that up properly. There's the front of it for volume 2. And then you've got the table of contents. Again, it's got both volumes listed, which is helpful. Then you go straight in looking at, it starts off with trust and estate planning in Israel. So you've got that. Obviously you've got different countries being covered. Again, you've got the same structure. There we go. You see the paragraph numbering at the side there. If I go to the back, again, there's nothing by way of an index, but what you do have, which is useful at the back of the second volume, is a list of all the contributors, which I think is very helpful, because you've got a very wide range of people. I can't mention them all here by name, but you've got a very wide range of people who've been involved in producing this work, and each chapter has the name of the person who's actually contributed the work. So there are the 2 books. Now, what do we say about it? We say this: it's of interest to all lawyers, trust practitioners in particular, and is the recently published 5th edition of what is an authoritative 2-volume work of reference from Globe Law and Business. And as is obvious from the title, this is about trusts, which is an area of law which could ultimately benefit from having the controversies often associated with it somewhat reduced, but not entirely. There are lots of problems associated with the concepts of trusts. All sorts of issues are thrown up. And of course this new edition of the 2 volumes deals with the increasingly numerous jurisdictions in which trusts can be implemented. I think that's very important because of course it's international, very much in its flavour. Some new ones have certainly emerged since the previous edition, and certainly since the publication of the first edition in 2000, during which time, of course, as the editors pointed out, the world had seen dramatic events, notably 9/11, the 11th of September 2001, and the political and legal changes that have taken place since that time, which have impacted on the life and work of many a legal and financial professional. And examples abound, including the concept of banking secrecy, just one of the issues that is dealt with in detail in this text. And it's a very controversial area, it's very emotional. People can get very cross about what goes on with the way the banks behave, but of course that's something that we have to recognise. There's a quote that I think is worth bearing in mind. "The chance of having privacy in trusts is quite slim," say the editors Alon, Kaplan and Barbara H. Hauser, excuse me, "particularly as regards the required transparency for tax purposes." They also refer to the standards for transparency and the exchange of information developed by the OECD. And this and other initiatives, they add, quote, "highlight the question of whether private information will be kept confidential and privileged as it was during the 20th century. And of course how long the banking secrecy in countries, and I'm going to name them, such as Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg and other jurisdictions will exist in any form." Now obviously that's been a problem for a very long time, and there are lots of views about what's been going on, and nothing very much has happened, but it's something that is certainly the forefront of many people's minds in terms of jurisdiction. And despite speculation like this, or possibly because of it, the global spread of trusts has continued apace, thanks to the unusual flexibility trusts can offer to clients. And of course the mechanism itself is a very helpful mechanism in many ways, if you see from the point of view of money how it can be used. For example, Ziva Robertson, one of the more than 50 contributors to this text, has commented that under English law, trusts has come full circle, as it has evolved from an estate planning mechanism to tax mitigation device. Therefore, trusts have become once again the estate planning tool. And I say that because I'm not talking here about tax evasion or tax avoidance. I'm talking about planning. And I think that does tend to diffuse some of the more emotive feelings about what goes on, because it is actually a sensible way forward. Anybody who's sensible will think ahead and think, well, what can we do to mitigate any difficulties that might occur in the future for those following us? And it's a logical, sensible thing to think about. And with these and related assumptions in mind, and with a positive outcome in view, the editors have predicted that the trust will continue to thrive, quote, "as clients appreciate the unusual flexibility that trusts can offer, and of course the flexibility of trust law." Certainly this distinguished text contains much new material. Original chapters have been updated and new chapters have been included, and they are, for instance, Germany, Bermuda and Italy. And in total, the two volumes, these two here, cover 23 jurisdictions worldwide. There are new chapters too on beneficial ownership relations and on trusts and disclosure. I think disclosure is an important area for many people at the moment, because frankly there are lots of ways of preventing certain things being disclosed, and it doesn't lead to a particularly satisfactory situation in some cases, because the whole basis of law is that everything should be open, so you should know exactly what you're dealing with. Therefore there should be proper disclosure of information. Now the UK chapter and two chapters on asset protection trusts have undergone extensive revision for the new 5th edition. So let me conclude by saying this, that it's produced in association with STEP, which I mentioned at the beginning. You can see the little logo at the front there. And these volumes have covered such topics, of course, as trust taxation, anti-money laundering laws, exchange of information and much more. And of course lawyers advising international clients, we think, as well as other readers concerned with trusts will find this work of reference, I think, invaluable. And it's a very interesting approach from a multi-jurisdictional point of view as to where we're going. The 2-volume hardback 5th edition was published in the middle of 2020. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but certainly round about the middle of the year. And I'm recording this at the beginning of the autumn. Let's just have a look at the 2 volumes again. There is volume 1 and there is volume 2. You can see them both together. There's blurb on the back of both. If I just, I'll just go to volume 2 again, and just to show you, there's the table of contents covering both volumes. So you should have, and it's got the names of all of the people involved. Hopefully everybody who has been involved is listed at the back. There are quite a large number of people who are, of course, editors and contributors. I'm not sure exactly how many people. We did think it might be about 50. I don't think it's quite as many as that. Probably more like 15. I'm not quite sure. It certainly looks a large number. If we open it up in the middle, you can see again you've also got footnotes, which are quite helpful throughout, and you've got the paragraph numbering. As I say, the one drawback, as I would mention it, the one drawback, of course, with these publications is there's no index. However, the work itself is first class. So a very big thank you to Globe Law and to Sean O'Neill and her colleague Nicola Hornby and everybody who's been involved in the production of this excellent new edition. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.